Climática de Nordea Asset Management, una estrategia que en este caso pone el foco de atención en el engagement. Y me acompañan Alexandra Christiansen, es CFA Portfolio Manager en Nordea Asset Management, y también Elin, que es Senior ESG Analyst, Responsible Investments en Nordea Asset Management. Thank you so much for having us a few minutes.
Thank you for having us, yeah.
Well, starting with you, Alexandra, over the past decade, Nordea built up a strong brand on climate and social solutions, led by the climate environment strategy, which currently is the biggest strategy in its peer universe. Now it's really you have come up with a new strategy. In this case, it's focused on engagement. It's the climate engagement strategy. How does this strategy differ from the existing solutions?
Yeah, so we're trying to do something a bit different here. So rather than buy the already recognized climate leaders and solution providers, we're going after the climate laggards and pushing them to catch up to the leaders. And in doing so, we think not only can we generate alpha through de-risking, through this engagement, but we can also have an impact on real-world decarbonization. So not just tilting your portfolio into already green sectors, but going after the heavy emitting ones and pushing them to be greener and more relevant in the future. And you mentioned that the original climate and environment strategy is one of the biggest in its universe, and we've observed this phenomenal growth in AUM and outperformance, and that's been true of most parts of the market that are deemed as good in ESG terms and green. And the flip side of that has been this flight of capital out of those parts of the market deemed as less good in ESG terms. And for us, that's a real opportunity as stock pickers, because we think that there are plenty of businesses in those parts of the market that have been branded with this negative ESG brush because of their carbon intensity, or their association with carbon intensive industries, or they're just perceived as laggards more generally. But there's plenty of businesses that are just guilty by association that we still need for the energy transition, that are critical in enabling the energy transition, or there's just great growth opportunities that have been overlooked. So we want to buy those companies that are overlooked and mispriced today, then work with management teams to set the right targets and strategy and back it with capital, and we think that that will then be rewarded by the market over time.
So Nordea is focusing on these businesses, these companies that they are not green now, but they are working to be in a future, and working and be a companion for them in all this transition. Being a bit more concrete now, which sectors are you looking for, and how did you build this investment universe?
Right, great question, because intuitively you think, oh, so then you're only investing in heavy industries like industrials and materials and utilities, but actually that's not true. We find opportunities across the board. It's quite a wide investment universe. So the way we decided to build our investment universe, because engagement is really at the heart of the strategy, we use the SASB materiality map. So SASB is the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, and they've mapped all sustainability issues to all sectors and showing the materiality of those issues within each sector. So we've zoomed in on the environmentally relevant issues and seen which sectors are most materially impacted, which sectors have the most to de-risk, to engage on. And actually it generates a universe that's really quite broad. So yes, we have industrials, materials, utilities, but we also have consumer, we also have financials, we also have parts of tech. So we're really pleased with that breadth as a starting point. We're not cornering ourselves in one part of the market by pursuing this strategy.
So it's a stock picking strategy, a philosophy. Could you share a bit the style, tales of this strategy and how it differs from traditional thematic strategies, which are normally more growth titled?
Yeah, you're right. The normal sort of ESG thematic strategies have been growth tilted, but because this strategy is going after those parts of the market that are a bit unloved and overlooked, it lends itself to a contrarian style of investing. So actually this fund has a value tilt, and it tends to outperform when value is winning over growth in the general market, which makes it quite different from a lot of these other thematic products out there.
And Elin, as a conclusion, the engagement component is already embedded in the strategy's name. It's the main focus in Nordea right now. So why is engagement so important here, and which is your engagement process in it?
Yeah. Yes, so that's true. Engagement is really at the heart of this strategy, and it's the lens we have on when we do the bottom-up analysis and when we do the stock selection process. And the reason why we are, centralizing around engagement is because we are of a firm belief that many of the companies within these sectors are critical to enable the energy transition, but they are in need of investor support and investor push to transform the businesses. And that is what we're setting out to do here. And since we're so heavily focused on engagement, we of course need to have a very robust process for how we execute on the engagements, because we are engaging across the portfolio. So we have created this process that can be divided into 4 different stages. So first, we are in a pre-investment stage where we look at the companies, identify which are currently lagging and which out of these companies have the possibility to actually pick up to the leaders. And how we do that, how we assess the probability to catch up, is through the so-called feasibility assessment, because we are engaging. So of course we need the companies to be open to us, and we need them to share the vision that we have in terms of where the company needs to go from here. So we look at things such as how accessible is the company, do we get to speak to the right people at the right frequency, and all of these elements are then assessed, and we create a vision about the company's probability to catch up. And then we move into the initiation stage. Here we set the KPIs that we will use to focus the engagement and monitor progress. And then the third stage is the actual engagement stage. So where the magic happens, where we're engaging and we are reporting back to clients on a frequent basis on how the engagements are progressing. And then finally, we of course also have an escalation stage. So if a company is not progressing or not progressing at pace, we have the possibility to escalate through potential voting against relevant board directors, or through collaborative engagements where we increase the ownership shares in the companies and consequently the pressure on the companies to deliver. And I think just as a final comment, it's okay if you only want to have green darlings in your portfolio. It will look good from an investment point of view, right? But if you want to contribute to real world emission reductions, these are the type of sectors that you should invest in, and these are the type of sectors that you should push. And that is what we're setting out to do here.
His contribution is what makes the difference in this strategy, and it's really interesting this dialogue, this conversation between managers and enterprises, businesses, companies. Thank you so much, Alexandra, Elin, for this time. I hope to talk with you in the future to see the evolution of this climate engagement strategy. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nosotros, por tanto, nos quedamos con estos mensajes, con el engagement como foco principal de la nueva estrategia climática de Nordea y, sobre todo, con este mensaje del acompañamiento que quieren hacer ahora mismo los gestores hacia aquellas compañías que todavía no son verdes, que no consideraríamos que hayan transicionado, pero sí están en proceso de hacerlo, con el apoyo de los gestores, con el apoyo de esas inversiones para poder contribuir a la que sería la economía verde, la economía del futuro. Raquel.
Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias por esa